Let's see who is watching. We have some Russian devotees watching. I see some Russian. So we have here Jerry Vega is watching, Hari Prasad and Prana Krishna Das, Dandavat Pranams, and Philip James, Dandavat Pranams, Bhakta Bandhu Das, Vlad Bathari, I don't know who, if somebody's friend here, and Jerry Vega, Ravin, some Russian language here. Let me see.
Saying hi to Vlad.
Oh, Vladimir Akulov. Bhagavan. Bhagavan. Yeah, Bhagavan is our Pujari in Moscow. Pujari. Oh, so nice. He doesn't understand English. So. Well, I just wanted to, pay respects here to everybody. Sending dandavats from Los Angeles. Dandavats. Thank you all so much for being here. We're starting a little bit earlier today from the regular program. Usually we start 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But today I am doing some traveling and some visiting of our Vaishnav friends. And I have the good fortune of being here in this beautiful office temple space that belongs to Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Sundar Giridhari and his beautiful devotees. And we call them the Russian devotees because they are all from Russia, or Avadhuta Maharaj's devotees, or our whole, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat mission. And for me, it's very inspiring to be here because it's, the youth, and they're very active in sharing Krishna consciousness and engaged in, this beautiful program that Avadhuta Maharaj does everywhere he goes. And this is really the topic of the evening before we talk a little bit with each of the devotees that are present who will share. We're going to talk a little bit about how they met with the devotees, how these devotees have heard about Krishna consciousness. So I'm going to be interviewing a couple of devotees, but before that, Srila Janardhan Maharaj asked me to share something before we go into the mini interviews. And so I wanted to speak a little bit, and it's related to this topic of asking the devotees how they first heard about Krishna consciousness. But I'll begin with this from real life experience. If you are suffering right now, if you are suffering right now, it is probably because you have forgotten who you are, okay? I say this from experience. So if you are suffering right now, it is because you have forgotten who you are. And who you are really cannot be separated from the mercy that you've been given by this Krishna consciousness movement. So if you are forgetting who you are, you're probably forgetting something about the blessings and the mercy that you have been given by Gauranga Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement. And I say this because I am always engaged in suffering in all the various ways. And it's only when I remember who I am and where I've come from that I can even begin to change the mindset or to have some other understanding aside from the suffering. And so as I was kind of thinking about what I wanted to share, from the real life experience of what I'm going through in my travels and the projects and things that I want to do, I understood this. Like, it's when I forget who I am that I'm filled with fear, that I'm filled with insecurity, that I'm filled with a sense of being alone in this world. And when I remember this, then suddenly, abhaya charanara vindare, right? This idea of clasping the lotus feet of your master, for this destroys all fear. It's very, very true. And this whole journey and travel to LA has been blessed by the vibration, the energy, the reminder of Gurudev always being here with me. And as you all know, Gurudev would always say, I am always with you. I am always with you. It's not just some cute poetic thing, But if you internalize it, and last week I spoke a little bit about this, how, Gurudev cannot help you and guide you if you're not turning to him. And so that's why I like to surround myself with friends that remind me of this and why this is such a special day. But this concept, again, if you are suffering, it's because you have forgotten who you are, where you come from, and the mercy that you're being given, which is really, if I were to highlight this, title this evening, or the talk title for this, what I want to share tonight, it would be something about an identity crisis, right? In this world, we have so many roles that we can be playing, but what is our real duty, having been connected with Krishna consciousness, is that we are agents. We are really agents. So you who are watching this somewhere in the world, all of the devotees here, you are an agent of this Prem Nohi Bija Pradam, this seed of bhakti that Srila Govinda Maharaj is planting in everyone's hearts and distributing so beautifully and creating ashrams all over the world. We read the description to his song and we're hearing about this. And it is our duty to do this. And, oftentimes there's these kind of a joke about like, oh, everybody wants to be a wannabe Krishna. Everybody wants to be a wannabe Shiva. But how about wanting to be something like Gurudev? If we can all be something like Gurudev, and what is his mission and his modus operandus? That is sharing Krishna consciousness and embodying that, right? His full form. So if you could imitate being anybody, if you're having an identity crisis, if you're feeling lost, sad, confused, bewildered, or alone, step 1, remember who you are. Step 2, remember the blessings that you've been given. And step 3, imitate, fake it till you make it. Imitate this concept of sharing, sharing Krishna consciousness, like we hear from Guru Maharaj. If you must give ash, like give ash, but give something. And this is what I would call the formula or the recipe for coming back to what is your identity. And I'm saying this from this personal experience, right, of having aspirations or goals for service and feeling intimidated by those goals, and then being reminded by the beautiful devotees that are here tonight that it's not my job to be afraid or concerned about how or, when or anything, but to rather trust, follow the inspiration, follow the ideal vision, and trust that everything else will be revealed and wonderfully arranged, not by us, because we are not the supreme controller, but by the grace of the Sankirtan movement. And this experience is very alive right now. And so we were all speaking earlier about, the aliveness that happens when you take the opportunity to really be engaged in what is your true purpose and your true identity. And the feelings of death and fear and just numbness that can come from really trying to associate or align with the roles of the so-called, who we are in the material world, right? When I start thinking about my role in the material world, or that I'm this or that I'm that, I become very discouraged and uninspired. And I was saying that to these beautiful friends earlier today, that like, wow, what I do in the world does not inspire me, like this idea of a job or this idea of doing these material things. But this concept of being in service to sharing Krishna consciousness is actually a very selfish thing because it brings me life. And so, I wanted to just say this tonight because as a result of this concept or training of like, okay, we are here to distribute the holy name, we're here to be agents of the truth, so many people all over the world are coming in contact with Krishna consciousness. And the more you distribute, the more alive you become, and the more you help the planet to not sink into the depths of Pataloka. So right now is a very, scary time on the planet, but the truth is that this is continuously happening over and over again on this planet, right? There's this constant battle between the light and the dark, and the takeover of the sound waves and the sound vibrations with so much programming and material sound telling you that you have to be this and you have to be that. And it's actually such a huge relief to remember, wait, we as aspiring Vaishnavas, as practitioners, it's actually not our duty or responsibility or anything to really fully subscribe to the ideas that are being presented in this world. And home is really in this embodiment of claiming and owning that we really are just here to be agents of the holy name. And as a result of that, we've had so many devotees join the Krishna conscious movement. So tonight I wanted to take the opportunity to speak a little bit with some of the devotees here, because to be honest, the real reason is because I felt shy to say something in front of all of these beautiful Vaishnavas. And I know that each of them have something very special to share and some sort of magical story, if you will, of how they've come in contact, because it's such a beautiful process. The distribution of the Sankirtan movement and the way in which it touches people's hearts and melts their hearts to the point where they want to give their life. And so I'm very inspired by all of the devotees here, because they're able to give their life in a way that is harmonizing with the duties of the world, engaging the tools of this material world, and all of the amazing technology and efforts that Avadhuta Maharaj puts together to share Krishna consciousness in his dynamic, beautifully inspired, creative way. And so it's really an honor to be sitting here in this beautiful temple in their association. And so for the sake of hearing from their mouths and hearts, I wanted to just share a little bit, but really turn to them for some little Krishna Katha, mini little stories for everyone to hear. So I would like to invite dun, 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 dun.
Who would be invited?
I would actually
Post your answers now.
Actually, I want to invite you first, but I would like to invite Damodar to come.
If I will talk, you will lose your followers.
It's not. No. Okay? Do you want Gopa Kishore? Gopa Kishore. Okay. Gopa Kishore, please come and share. I don't know what the best way is. Maybe we can turn here and make it a wider. Okay.
Okay, let's work on this arrangement.
I know, I'm trying. So, if you like, you can wear these if you want. So, Gopa Kishore story is. So, please share with us
Discovery.
how did you hear about Krishna consciousness? How did you come in contact with this movement?
Bhakta Bandhu. It's a beaten up already.
It's a what?
It's a beaten up story.
Okay. Not to
Many
them.
people were fortunate enough to somehow being drawn by prasadam or something. I've heard these devotees and I decided to check it out, or there was beautiful girls or old ladies who got me into dancing, and then they brought me in and I'm just like, what's happening? But it's cool. Since one of my teachers was Goswami Maharaj, who was into the depth, he wanted to know if you can live like this.
Mm-hmm.
Because many people want to sacrifice their life, but first you need to make your life, which is kind of a point. You can live your life and at old age, you're like, okay, what do I sacrifice my life now after I experienced everything? So I was fortunate enough to be wandering around St. Pete, this big city in the Viking land, I would say. And there's so many stuff there, like from Europe to Tibetan things. You can meet and pretty much get in touch pretty substantially with anything. But what really attracted is our center at Lahti, where now is a glass lotus being built by the organization. So I really felt that these guys not only talk but live what they're talking. You know, they're less of epotage and what would be the word, bravado people who like state things and then try to live by them. They are more of overlive things and discover and disclose something from their lives. Right? So, like real guys, you know, they walk the talk and then they like report. They don't know, like, hey, that's a devotional life. Do you want to check it out and tell me if it works out for you? So that was a long story, cut short. And that was discovered in the book we've recently published on Audible, the Sri Guru and His Grace.
Nice.
So this is the concept that you read and you see it comes to life. That Hridaya Navinugyato, what your heart is searching for, you can discover it. And this is not a fantasy. And we're talking together of, oh, you always want to have some like, moment, like an atom turns into something, some really amazing hallucination or a dome show, and you're like, yes, you know, spirituality is better than acid. It's completely different. That meaning, like in your real life, you have this understanding that, like, there is connection, like there is current. When you see, like, yeah, then nothing else really works for you now. And people are like, yeah, you know, you need to live your playboy life, or you need to just have comfort and enjoy. It stands in the back from that moment a little bit. And another thing, that's a peaceful warrior moment that it's all the sometimes like gopis because they dance and everything, but what our teachers told in the very first moments, like you don't need to take deep initiations and things. It's all as a suicide squad. There's a good movie about this you can watch in a moment. But that's what they told. It's not about like seeing and pretending something, waiting for the moment. It's like real cool mess. So that's like a cool idea.
So what I'm hearing is that you were very attracted to not only what they were saying, but the embodiment, the living example, right? That's what attracted you. But what happened exactly? Were you, did you get a book? Did you get, did somebody invite you? Exactly how did you get in contact with it? What was the first thing that happened? We need to track them down.
We're remembering about this on the Gurudev's disappearance, but it's the way that's described in Sri Guru and His Grace. Like, it's a very well-written theme about the Guru. That's, oh, this is the guy, or it's pretty much everywhere. It's universal. It's stories, but the question is, how does it turn into reality to you? And usually, it's building. You remember the exact Sridhar Maharaj phrase, but it's building like a proper faith in you. So you don't need like an end result or how people prove themselves in this world. Like, hey, here's my Rolls Royce, here's my huge house, I'm walking in it, you see nobody expels me from it. So now I'll give you a business advice. So it's the same thing, that you don't need like an acid trip that will drop you to the floor. You just need this moment of understanding that it's like really happening to you in this moment. So it's the same thing, that you're searching for something really desperately, and that's the moment that was in my life. I really thought this is like it's a turning point where you're going to end in like a life that you really see happening and don't appreciate. their philosophy and preaching, and you're like, there should be something else, you know. Many stories and spiritual books, they shouldn't be, you know, like lived stories or imagination. You know, like there should be a real spiritual experience that's happening too. Like you had an ice cream, oh yeah, like, melting in my throat. You know, like you jump with the parachute, yes, dude, like my blood is boiling. You can do some experience with yoga, but what's the experience of this truth? And that's what you actually can hear with many of the devotees. They're like thinking about something really cool, and then it just falls in their hands. They're like, that couldn't happen for anything other than like some higher reality, which is you're always humble to talk, but that's the real thing that we can talk about it. That there should be something that's like really falling from the sky. And so that's the thing, when you're looking for something and you're coming, and I remember first festival that we were doing, and there were people also taking interviews, and we're like distributing the food, helping the guests. There's somebody coming with a mic. So how do you feel here? I'm like, I thought like previously I was like not scrapping gold, but you know, you see gold everywhere, and it's like, oh cool, that'll be like, it's cool to have a little bit gold here and there. But we're talking about the jewels of wisdom, like, and it looks now that I'm just like rock climbing on Golden Mountain. You know, like every book that you read is like proving what you're looking for. Srila Maharaj giving descriptions of love and lust, and talking about the inner journey and revelation of this, like, yes, you need to really be hankering, and then you'll get a chance. When you get a chance, you need to embrace it.
Yeah.
And when you embrace it, like, you need to live with it. You know, like it's like a workout. You do it once, and then you're paying for a week, and you're like, dude, that was like awesome, but not today again, kind of stuff. And they're really showing you by their example that's what they were looking, they achieved. It's not always that, you know, they've achieving what you were achieving. But you see, because Maharaj wanted the absolute ideal, he's like really nicely cemented in it. And Gurudev's affection is like really, like, he's the idol of this. And there are people who are like Avadhuta Maharaj Festival or like Divine Hustle. He's the personification of this. Yeah. Maybe it's not your line, but you see it's real, it's livable.
And it's through that divine hustle and that embodiment that others are coming in contact and feeling, like you're saying, this experience. It's this step-by-step unfolding, right? Being in contact with the devotees and watching, and one layer at a time. You
can find support, and you can find good opponents, I would say.
Good what? Opponents?
You know, like in a fight there should be two people.
Oh, opponents. Opponents. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can find good opponents.
Yes. So you basically were invited to a program or something like this, and I still don't understand exactly what happened. Like
not to brag, but it was like proactive. You know how most of the yoga programs come and the sales pitches, you're like, go just to check it out, and you basically can get rid of it. So I was just like, okay, let's go and check it out. That's a temple. That's like that's going to be like real, you know, when you're going to some, not like talking with people on the chat and you drop it at any moment. You're like, okay, let's check it out. We're known of how religious and spiritual people are into it, and how you come to yoga classes and you just want to work out, and you're like preached for an hour and you just warm up for 5 minutes, and you're like, where's the workout? So it's very looking for the substance. Like, if you're doing yoga, like if you're doing workout, let's sweat. If you're like looking for something spiritual, what is it spiritual? So and when you're coming to a festival or a temple, there are always like book and people and things. The biggest trouble is there is always like the skim. How do you call it? There is always there is always the epotage people. There are always like the first acquaintance people, and you're like, that's fun. And you're like, that's interesting, but what is the real deal? So, the real deal when you see like a lot of people talking something, and Preetu Hyal's actually a couple of years after he shared this thing, he was like, and I'm coming to this guy, and I'm talking to him, and not like preaching, but he's like talking me into many things, and he told he's just like looking through me, like through me, and then he let me finish, and then he's like, can I go? Quoting me. I was just going to the kitchen and just peeling things there, checking people, like how they're real in their life, listening to all the like hours of lectures, and like waiting for the moment, where is that, the real stuff? And people are like, okay, it's meaningless to say, and that's actually the thing. When you're really looking, it will appear, but it comes nicely through service. Because when you're just like chit-chatting and stuff, you need the like people of a certain quality. But when you dive deep into service, you find really dedicated people. And so you're like, okay, that's the meaning not the challenge. That's the price that's we've read in the books you need to pay, and that's the price that you pay, and you again see it's working. You really find people who are like the real deal, and they drop something that's moving them in the road. Not like, oh yeah, it's fun, let's talk about stuff. But they have real problems, people telling, yeah, and I preached to this girl, you should dedicate your lust and hankering to Krishna, and that was one of the brahmacharis. So guess what? The next day, he's giving me so much lust. He's like, go ahead, show how you dedicate it to Krishna. His words.
Okay, I want to invite somebody here before they leave. Are they leaving? To also come and share something. So
let's grab them.
Hello, this is a disaster. Yeah.
Want me to go get them?
Anurag?
Somebody, like maybe Anurag.
Who's next? You want to cut next? No? Okay. You want to go next?
No, I have a story, but it's really difficult to explain, and maybe some of the days I can...
We don't, just somebody come, because we're live. Yes, please. I told everyone ahead of time so that this moment would not happen, and I'm like, yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing.
If you want more stories,
Thank you for sharing your story. Okay.
Next one.
Thank you. Next devotee to share a little bit about how, her experience.
Do you need this? No?
Yeah, it's better so they can hear you because the microphone.
Okay.
So please tell your name and something about your time here, and then I will ask you some questions.
Okay, Dandavats to everybody. My name is Ananda Lila Didi. I live here in Eagle Rock in Los Angeles Temple. So it's already about 3 years, and I got an initiation from Avadhuta Maharaj around 5 or 6 years ago. So that's it.
Nice. Yes, and I've seen her several times, and she's been non-stop here. Yeah, since I met you.
Yeah.
She continues to be here, serving so nicely, and I understand that you help to take care of the deity.
Yes.
You do the offering.
Yeah, I do puja about once a week because we have many pujaris here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like 5 or 6 people, and we just switch, so one by one.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Yes. So I wanted to ask you, because I know everybody has a different story and experience, and it's just very nice to hear how Krishna consciousness is coming to people. How did you first hear about this practice or Krishna consciousness?
So I think I have to add that I'm actually from Russia, if someone didn't understand yet. So I'm from Russia. I was living in Moscow all my life until I came here. How did I know about Hare Krishna? It was actually my mom. She sent me a link of Oleg Tersunov. It's a Russian ISKCON devotee, kind of. And he's doing like video lectures about Hare Krishna, but about Vedic culture. So it's more like for relationships, how to live in the world, like don't eat meat. So something simple. So I got interested, and I was trying. I was looking for a community actually for people, and just by any chance, we have social media like Facebook. Here we have also Kontakte. It's Russian social media. So I was scrolling down news feed, and there was we have a temple in Moscow, and there was an event, Veda Live, held in Moscow at that time. So I just read like Vedic culture event. So okay, I want to join, and that was when I came there. And Avadhuta Maharaj was there. It was like a big festival, and it was many devotees. So it was very nice. I fell in love. But I spent only 1 hour there, and when I was about to leave, they were distributing halava in small small portions, small cups. So I took one, and I remember what I was thinking. I was thinking like, okay, maybe I will come back, maybe no. I'm not sure yet. And when I was walking down the street, I started to eat, and it was so delicious. And I was like, oh my God, I will come for sure. I want to know what is this? How did they cook this? So that's how it started actually. I was coming back and was always asking about the receipt, but nobody gave it to me. So I have to come again and again. Yeah.
It sounds like Prashadam got you.
Yeah, sure.
This is what I was trying to get at. I wanted to hear, like,
for me,
what is it?
It's prasadam, for sure.
The
Wow.
prasadam. Wow.
Then they started cooking classes, and Gopal, Indian guy, Gopal, you maybe know.
I don't know.
He
Gopal
was
from India?
Yes.
Oh, Gopal.
Yeah.
Gopal from...
He was at that time in Moscow, and he was giving cooking classes. So I took my friend from university, and we came together and in Avadhuta. So that's how I met other devotees, and then how I met other people from this temple, and then it started. I was slow, so I was not like, oh, I want to be a devotee right now. So it took like about a couple years to really to feel that I want to try. Yeah, so it was long. I just like to eat, actually.
Yeah, I like to ask. So, several years ago, I had something called like the world tour. Not several years ago, when Gurudev was traveling, I would do something called world tour interviews, and I would interview devotees about how they joined Krishna consciousness, and they were more in depth. So they were like the full story, the full experience. But tonight, I just wanted to get an idea of like, you know, when we are out in the world, it is our job, our real job is to share Krishna consciousness, right? And we never know how one small thing could affect somebody and change somebody's life. Maybe it's prashadam, maybe it's a book, maybe it's something you said, maybe it's a song. And so this is why I was asking Gopakishore, like, what happened? I still don't understand. But, you know, it's like some people are coming and they're searching for some philosophy, right? Like, it seems like he was hankering and calling for something at that time, and then it came. It's what it sounds for what I got from there. And it sounds like you were maybe invited. Some invitation came, and now you were in the temple.
Halava bowl.
And then they gave you halava.
That's my like.
And it's so
best
simple. The taste
it's
of
so,
halava
Yeah,
kept
so
you.
simple. Yeah, I didn't know exactly what is prasadam, and I remember when I was asking guys like, what's this, and they were smiling because they know what is this, and I didn't know. Like, okay, we will give you, yes, come to our cooking classes. We cook sometimes, okay. Then I came to like, how it's called, kitchen. Yeah, that was my goal, to help the cooks in the kitchen.
And I have a question for you. So you said it took several years,
Yeah.
right? You were like cooking kitchen, getting to know the thing that attracted you.
Yeah.
But do you remember when there was maybe like a switch for you? Like at what point did you understand, wow, this is... Do you remember what was that moment?
I remember the moment when like, I'm pretty shy person, so I don't really come to people to talk. So that's why I liked this temple, because you can come and nobody talking to you. Actually, you can just sit. You can just eat, sit. So and eat and sit. Yeah, that's what I was looking for probably. Yeah, but I was also listening to the lectures, to the classes, and I liked this, so I was trying to. And I remember it was Govardhan Puja, how it's called, this festival, like Govardhan. Yeah, yes, and there were again lots of devotees.
Janmashtami, no?
No.
That's when we do Govardhan. Oh, it is, huh?
Yes, this festival when we cook a lot of.
Yeah, that's right.
So this was this day, and I remember we were sitting in yoga class because when there are lots of people, so they distribute prasadam in yoga classes, and I was eating, and I remember I was thinking, okay, maybe now I can ask if they need help. I remember this idea, and I wasn't supposed to come this day because I had to drive to my mom's house in the weekends, but something happened. I was late to the bus and I didn't reach the bus, and I came back and I decided to stay, to come to the temple just for the festival. I knew that there was a festival, so I came just again for 1 hour, to take prasadam. And I remember this idea. I came to the cook. He was Shyam. His name was Shyam. So, and he was okay. He knows. He knew me, but we didn't talk never. So just. And he told me, okay, you can wash the dishes, and this is my worst part in the kitchen, washing the dishes. And I was like, okay. I came to, it's a huge, dirty plates, lots of thousands of dirty plates, and I was like, okay, let's do this. And I remember Bhagavan, it was a pujari in Moscow, Ramai was in Sakal, so it's constant pujari in Moscow. And he's very funny. He was always making jokes, so all this stuff. So yeah, and he didn't never talk to me. So he was just looking at me. But when he saw me washing the dishes, he came to me just clapping my shoulder. Oh, you are here endlessly. So it was funny. So this was this day.
This moment where you felt like, oh, I belong here,
and I was like, oh my God, you know me.
Wow.
You noticed me, okay.
That's special.
Yeah.
Very nice. And so before we go maybe to one last person, I don't know who now, because everyone's like, I don't want to be it. Who knows who will come? But I want to ask you, if there's one thing that you remind yourself, when you're maybe feeling stuck or sad, right? Because Krishna consciousness is the medicine. It's the medicine. It's everything. We have everything, but sometimes we forget to take this medicine, right? But maybe you have something that you tell yourself, or your favorite thing that maybe you want to share. What would you share with devotees watching to stay maybe inspired or hopeful in your practice?
For me, if I feel not inspired, I go and cook, for example. Yeah, because I love to share this food with people, devotees, and I think that if you feel like that you're exhausted or something like this, it's better to go and do something like for people. Like I mean that you can feel that you need it, that like you can manage something. So clean, cook, something like this. Yeah.
So like this mood of service and being in service and
Maybe
community
yeah.
is what you do to stay inspired.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, very beautiful. Well, thank you so much for
Thank
sharing
you.
how you heard about Krishna, and we will summarize that it was prasadam. Okay. Okay. Would like to come and share? Anybody? Yes, that'd be lovely. That was the whole point. Okay. So I used to do these, they were not on camera, so people were less shy. They were audio interviews, but now they're on video, so you know there's more shy, but that's okay. Thank you so much. Oh, I need to give it to you so you can.
Okay.
So this is
Sudha Krishna.
not Sudha.
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 No SH sound.
Sudha Krishna Prabhu.
Das.
Das.
Yeah.
I call him Prabhu. He calls himself Das. And I'll let you just introduce yourself. Please tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing here.
Well, okay. Well, what I'm doing here is I'm living with the devotees, which is the most important thing that we can be doing, because life goes by very quickly, and yeah, we're basically preparing ourselves for our next birth. And if we, I actually, I think of when I was in Avadhuta once, and Gurudev once looked at me and he says, I just don't understand how any devotee could live outside of the association of devotees. And he's like very quizzical. I just don't understand, you know? And I've always, you know, I met devotees in 1981 at an anti-nuclear war rally in San Francisco. They were chanting on stage. I heard the mantra. Someone handed me a book, interview between John Lennon and Prabhupada. The next day, someone handed me a Bhagavad Gita. The devotee brought me back, offered prasadam, taught me how to chant on beads. I went back east and was at our family cottage, and I went down to the Toronto temple to get some more books, and I stayed there for 4 years. Lived in the temple 4 or 5 years, and then I moved to the New Vrindavan community. And then in the early 90s, I met Gurudev in New York City. And Avadhuta Maharaj, actually. Avadhuta Maharaj was George, the Russian art dealer. And we had a temple there. He came over to our temple, and we had an interfaith preaching program on the Lower East Side in a vegetarian restaurant. And we used to hang out, and he said that there is Srila Govinda Maharaj is on a world tour, and he was wondering if we'd like to invite him over to our temple in Brooklyn. And we invited him over, and Srila Govinda Maharaj came over to our temple in Brooklyn, and I remember he gave a talk, and then a few days later, Avadhuta Maharaj, George at the time, said he's going to the airport. Would you like to go to the airport? And we went to the airport. Me and my friend Advaita went to the airport, and Gurudev was there, and all the sannyasis were there. And as he was walking through security away from all the devotees, he turned around and he called me and Advaita forward and gave us each a big hug. And I didn't know that he was going to be my guru at the time, but I had a different guru at the time who had all kinds of personal difficulties, and I was in need of a guru. And so I started writing him letters, and he initiated me. Actually, I was living in Florida, and he initiated me by mail. One of Shrudashrava's kids brought my beads from India to SoCal, and Gurudev emailed me my name when I was living in Florida like 20 years ago, like in 1999. Yeah, it was like, I think 1999 or 2000. And then I came out west, in 2000, I think 2003, 2004, because there's really not too many Srila Govinda Maharaj disciples back east, very sparse. So I wanted to get closer to the SoCal ashram, and basically since the early 2000s, then I started going to India regularly. I reconnected with my friend George, who is now Avadhuta Maharaj.
He was George at the time?
And he was George when I met him in New York.
Wow.
Yeah, he was George. He wasn't even Jagannath Vallabha. He was George. And his
remember
father, Vijay Ram Prabhu, and Satya Sundar were all there, living on Park Avenue, and had a beautiful flat. And they invited us over. We had some programs, and we were actually, me and George at the time, Avadhuta Maharaj, we would go around and explore different things. We went to hang out with the Sufis, and we were like checking all these different interfaith things. And and then recently, I've helped him out going to India and helping him out with different things. And then he asked me to come here to help out with some things. And just this year, I moved to Florida because I wanted to get away from the COVID crisis where everything's locked down here, and I went to Florida. My family has a place there, and I was just feeling so relaxed and on vacation. I'm just going to start my life over again here. And then I really started feeling separation from the devotees. And I'm like, I can't be away from the devotees, I mean, especially this crew here, every morning gets up, wakes the deities, and has bhajan and kirtan, and we read from Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's so nourishing for the soul to have that. We can't do this alone. And that's like Gurudev, like when he looked at me quizzically that time in Navadvip, it's like, I just don't understand why devotees ever leave the association of the devotees. It just doesn't make sense to me. And he's an example when he was, because he grew up with devotees, as from birth. But when he once, at 17, he swam across the Ganges, and he never left Guru Maharaj's ashram for 80-something years, right? How old? 80-something years. And that's the example. And there's so many wonderful devotees in our mission who never think, oh, I'm going to do this by myself. And if we have that idea, we generally get pretty miserable pretty quick if we've tasted the association of devotees and have a little gratitude. And that's the mercy. And Madhusudan Maharaj is saying this over and over again, that everything has to be done with devotees. The chanting, the reading, the prasadam, we do it with the devotees, and then Gurudev's presence is there. Then we get the full mercy, by doing it with the devotees. If we think we have all these big ideas and we want to go off and do them alone, we're missing like half of the equation. It's to be doing it with the devotees, because Gurudev nourishes us with the help. The devotees who have been around a little bit longer, they get enthusiasm from the younger devotees. The younger devotees get a little experience from the older devotees, and there's this exchange. An older devotee, the fact that they've been around, it's like, wow, you're still sticking around doing this thing, so it must be real, and it's just this interchange. It's a family. We all need, all the generations need each other, and it creates a strength. We were reading in the Chaitanya Charitamrita a few days ago, and Prabhupada was explaining in a purport that with Krishna's mercy, anything is possible. He spread the whole Krishna conscious movement in 5 years, basically. It was on every continent. There was like hundreds of temples all over the world in 5 years. With Krishna, anything is possible. And he stressed over and over again in that purport that if we just stay in the society of devotees, Krishna will work through us. It's not our doing, it's not our expertise, or he can use all of that, but we need to do it together and then we can be used as instruments in Krishna service. It's taken me literally a lifetime. I mean, I've been doing this, for 40 years now. I still, have this tendency to go out and think I can do something, get my life together for Krishna. But that, to me, I finally conceded that that's a waste of time. That we don't have to go get anything together for Krishna. That's, generally, karma bhakti or jnana bhakti, thinking we got to do something to offer to Krishna. But devotional service, really, jnana shuna bhakti, is just being present in the association of devotees, accepting, Krishna accepts us completely, who we are. We don't have to go do anything to get our stuff together for Krishna. And life is going to go by just like that. It's going by. I left Florida 20 years ago, came out here. That's like when I first started hanging around SoCal. That was like 20 years ago, and now that's gone. That 20 years is gone. I'm not getting that back. Now it's like, life is going by fast. So why not be in the association of devotees, assisting devotees like Avadhuta Maharaj, Madhusudan Maharaj, Goswami Maharaj, Janard Maharaj, all these Trivikram Maharaj, Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj, all these devotees that are fixed in the service of Gurudev, 110%. All we have to do is assist them and stay in the association of devotees, and we'll be happy in this life and in the next. It's like, that's all. It's not rocket science, but it's just a matter of doing it. Yeah. So I'm talking too much.
No, that's very nice. I was just, as you were talking, I was thinking about what I was saying earlier about, like, if you're miserable right now, it's because you forgot your identity. You're forgetting not only who you are, but who you're connected to. And when you remember that, there's so much less pressure, because when you can come, together with like-minded devotees that have that encouragement and that enthusiasm, it literally gives you life. Yes, I was excited to see the Russian devotees in SoCal just because they're my age and they're like, oh, yay, friends. But even more than anything is because I know that they practice. Every morning it's a lifestyle. And we have this also in the SoCal Sevashram, etc. But it's so much nicer when you feel that kind of connection, that friendship, that camaraderie, and it really carries you. And that's also what I'm saying. It's like, this life is so short. What are you here to represent? You can either go represent some role or identity from this world, which will kind of leave you a little bit dry and still craving for something else, or you can go and align yourself with this current and represent this current, and everything else will come to you. When I was a teenager, I wrote to Gurudev, you are Govinda, so you fulfill material and spiritual desires, but I know that it is important for me to put myself at your feet, because only then can I even understand how the fulfillment of my material desires are even relevant. If I'm just receiving what I want materially, I don't know what to do with that. But if I have a connection to the spiritual and I'm receiving all these material things, I know just what to do with it. I'm not overwhelmed by it or taken by it or distracted by it if I am engaged in what is the real center. And so I feel like what you just said brought home what I started saying at the beginning, because it's just present for me. I tend to speak about what's present for me and what I'm thinking about, and I understood that doing something with you guys and even just hearing something from each of you would be inspiring in some way. Not just for me, but also for the devotees that are watching. Some devotees message here asking, when is your class starting? When is it happening? And sometimes I think, I'm not going to do this. Who am I? Forget it. But you are all here waiting and asking and feeling some encouragement. So then that makes me feel, okay, I have some self-worth because it's somehow being useful to somebody else's heart, to somebody else's expansion. And so I get very inspired by your inspiration. So I'm really happy to hear your story. And I know it's going to transition. Thank you, Sue. And thank you to the devotees here for sharing. Aditi. And thank you to, for having a second program. They had their program yesterday on Sunday, and today we got very spoiled. And we got to have a program here in this beautiful, beautiful temple. Feels so much like home. So we're going to now just close the evening. I just, again, offering my Dandavat Pranams to each of you here and to beautiful, beautiful Tulsi Devi. I'd like to offer my Dandavat Pranams to all of you that are here watching. Thank you so much for sharing this evening with us. And as usual, Mondays, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll see you next week. And you can find more lectures every day and more classes and kirtan every day here from the Seva Ashram Facebook page and also Bhakti Connect. So stay tuned. I know Srila Janardhan Maharaj gives morning and evening classes. And before we close here, I'm just going to turn the camera around so you can see Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Sundar Giridhari and have his darshan, have the darshan of their lordships. And we're going to close with a song with some kirtan. Here's Tulsi Devi. Beautiful Tulsi plants. There's Gopakishore, who told us first about his experience. Revati in the background. And here is another beautiful Tulsi.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudana. Gopal Govinda Ram Madhusudana. Giri Hari Gopinath. Chaitanya Nityananda
Jai Shri Shri Guru Garam Sundar Girthari Ki.
Jai.
Jai Prabhupada Paramahamsa Parivraja Kacharya Vairashtottara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Bimal Maharaj Ki.
Jai.
Jai Prabhupada Paramahamsa Parivraja Kacharya Vairashtottara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Sundar Gavita Goswami Maharaj Ki.
Jai.
Jai Prabhupada Paramahamsa Parivraja Kacharya Vairashtottara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Rakshashri Kardev Goswami Maharaj Ki.
Jai.
Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki.
Jai.
Acharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki.
Jai.
Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki.
Jai.
Tam Mehur Ki.
Jai.
Tam Navadvip Ki.
Jai.
Vedanta Purushottam Tham Ki.
Jai.
Sakal Sevashram Ki.
Jai.
Smaita Vaishnava Mandala Ki.
Jai.
Smaita Bhakta Vinda Ki.
Jai.
Vietnam Sankirtana Ki.
Jai.
Gita Gaur Premanante.
Druski devotees ki jai.
American devotees Ki.
And American devotees. Okay, let's say goodbye to everybody. Bye, everyone.